Grenlock Terrace is so pleased to announce Caitlin Rigby as our 2021 Teacher of the Year. We're so excited that Caitlin is getting this honor. She actually started at Grenlock as a student teacher over 5 years ago. So it's really exciting to see how much she's grown. She started out as a very enthusiastic student teacher, and now she has just grown so much professionally. Her colleagues here are so happy for her. I'm happy that I had the opportunity to honor her with this. The parents that wrote in were saying how their children, even in these very unique circumstances this year with learning, their child is so excited to learn. Miss Rigby really makes their child look forward to learning, excited to come to class, excited to go to the meetings. She's always doing something fun, some games. Her classroom is always bursting with fun and excitement, and she's continued to do that even through remote instruction. She's an extremely dedicated teacher. She always volunteers for anything and everything. She goes above and beyond. She is really just a great teacher, and I'm really honored to be able to give her this honor. A couple of her closest colleagues and teachers that she has worked with over the years, we actually met at Washington Lake Park, and we kind of all got together and did a little car parade to her house, and we told her mom that we were coming, and then our mascot, Grady T, our school mascot, actually went up and knocked on the door to get her to come down. And then we were all spread out on the front lawn with signs and balloons and, yelling congratulations to her. Our homeschool council provided a lawn sign. So we had a big lawn sign on her front lawn that said, "Congratulations, Caitlin." So, it was really, really fun. And I felt a personable touch, and she was so surprised and shocked and, not happy that she was kind of in her pajamas, but that makes it all worth it. Dedicated. She's definitely so dedicated. She's dedicated to this school. She's dedicated to her students, her families. I know whenever I need anything, I can go right to Caitlin and it's going to get done, and it's going to get done to its highest potential. So she's definitely very dedicated. And like I said, I think it's so super special that she started out here as a student teacher and then got hired here. And now we get to honor her with being Grenlock's 2021 Teacher of the Year.
Laura Ragone has made us incredibly proud here at Bells, and we are so honored to have her as our Teacher of the Year. This year we are honoring Laura Ragone, our BSI math teacher. She has been a teacher for over 25 years, and we are very blessed to have her here at Bells with us. She is one of those people that is always in the background supporting everyone else, making everyone else look good, making the students look good. She's just absolutely amazing, but she doesn't like the limelight. So if she were standing right here next to me, she would be totally embarrassed and bright red at her getting all this attention. She's definitely a behind-the-scenes kind of person. She started first in math here at Bells, and we've really done an amazing job of promoting that. She's done an amazing job. Every Sunday night, she sends me the list of the winners and who's which team leader and the winner for the school, and we put it out on social media. And she really, really brags about the success of the students. She's also the type that looks at a student and decides what they need and then gives it to them. She arranges different clubs for the kids to participate in. She works with so many teachers that absolutely adore her. Anybody who's ever had Laura in the room wants her back. She's just an amazing co-teacher. She goes above and beyond, and there isn't anything you can ask of her that she wouldn't do. Even when it came to rewarding the teachers for really pushing first in math, we did a coffee cart, and she brought boxes of coffee and creamer and everything to be part of that. She's just someone that every staff member and every student can count on, and we are very blessed to have her here at Bells. The nominations that came in for her talked about her rapport with the students, her rapport with the staff. I mean, as an administrator, she's just the ideal employee. Never any difficulties, always willing to do whatever I asked, usually anticipating what I might need and taking care of it before I need it. Like, that's who Laura is. She's just someone whose purpose seems to be to make everybody else's job easier, to make learning easier for every kid. And how do you go wrong with that as a teacher? I had a live WebEx meeting with the entire staff, and 2 staff members went to her house. And one had us on the meeting and video recorded, or brought her on live, and then we recorded her being announced. And it's funny because she was on the meeting and there were people beating on her door and I'm stalling. And then she kept trying to ignore it because she didn't want to be one of those that said, oh, excuse me, I got to get up. So we see her get up and run to the door. And next thing you know, she's on Angela Donato's camera being told. And she was just like screaming over the top and was so excited. Compassionate. Laura is so compassionate to everyone. If a student's having a bad day, she takes them out. She works with them, gives them special prizes, special assignments to bring them back up. She's so compassionate with the staff, with me. She's the first one to say, how are you? Do you need anything? Can I help you? Like, that kind of empathy is amazing.
It is my honor to introduce Birch's Teacher of the Year, Mrs. Marianne Shaper. Mrs. Shaper was nominated for this prestigious award because of the rock-solid commitment she has shown to teaching and learning during these unprecedented times. Mrs. Shaper received her dual certification in elementary and special education from LaSalle University and her master's degree in reading, as well as her reading specialist certification from Rowan University. She started her teaching career 2 decades ago in Smithville as a 3rd grade resource teacher, and a short time after that joined Birch's as a special education teacher. After completing a 6-year stint as a resource teacher, Mrs. Shaper transitioned to 2nd grade as a general education teacher and has been there ever since. She is passionate about her career as a teacher and is someone who has a real gift for the art of teaching. She is energetic and motivating with her students and naturally builds strong relationships. While remaining current with the latest instructional strategies, she has embraced both the hybrid and remote instructional models this year. At every turn, or as we like to call it, pivot, Mrs. Shaper has taken everything in stride and has kept a professional approach to the newest initiatives. Her innovative ways were evidenced during a recent observation where she used breakout rooms with her 2nd grade students during a foundations lesson to differentiate instruction. I could go on, but I think it's important to share the perspectives of others who know and have worked with Mrs. Shaper. Birch's supervisor, Mrs. Geringer, shares the following. Mrs. Shaper demonstrates a positive, supportive attitude in all interpersonal relationships. Her congenial style has helped establish meaningful relationships with parents, improving the learning environment and supporting her students' learning during this unique environment. She has demonstrated a variety of effective co-teaching models of instruction with her in-class support teacher, and they have developed a valuable partnership which focuses on meeting the needs of all their students. Her co-teacher, Mrs. Fuller, comments that Mrs. Shaper is kind, confident, and a creative teacher who advocates for her students. One of her favorite qualities of Mrs. Shaper's is her ability to develop personal relationships with her students. Incredibly, Mrs. Shaper never forgets any information that a student shares with her. Mrs. Shaper's dedication to teaching, her love of learning, and expertise in differentiating lessons for all learners makes her a standout from all others. Her students share that from the first day of school, she has a nice way of making them all feel very comfortable. Mrs. Shaper always helps us, the students say, when we struggle and waits for us to understand before moving on to something else. And last from the students is, she is beautiful, positive, and a really good dancer when she does go noodle with us. Mrs. Shaper's love for teaching comes from making a difference in her students' lives, one which goes beyond just knowledge. She loves making the students laugh and watching their faces as they discover something new. She finds it to be a true joy and honor to be a part of the students' lives and to watch them grow. On a personal note, I would like to thank Mrs. Shaper for the many contributions she has made to Birch's School. This past year, she has been a great sounding board for me. She has worked harder than ever to make sure she's meeting the needs of all her students, and her intense passion for her profession shows up in so many ways at Birch's School. Not only is Mrs. Shaper a rock-solid teacher, she is also a rock-solid wife, a rock-solid friend, and a rock-solid mom. So it is a true privilege to recognize and honor Mrs. Marianne Rock Solid Shaper as Birch's 2020-2021 Teacher of the Year. So we had a WebEx meeting, a full faculty WebEx meeting, where we were playing some holiday games. So the last game we said was going to be the grand prize winner, or whoever won that game was going to be the grand prize winner. So we rigged the game so that Marion was the grand prize winner. And when we announced that she was the winner, we also announced that she was definitely Birch's winner because she was Teacher of the Year. So there was, our whole staff was there. So it was really cool to be recognized and to honor her in front of everybody. She was shocked. She was completely shocked. Actually, she was the person that was spinning the wheel to see who was going to be the next person to guess. So she was completely distracted. We called her Arvana during the game. She was completely distracted by helping. So when we announced that she was Teacher of the Year, she was shocked. So then we had a little jib jab of her doing like a disco dance, celebrating that she was Teacher of the Year, which she didn't know was coming either. So it was cute. It was really fun. So Marianne is a consummate professional. Everything she does, she makes sure she does to the best of her ability and makes sure that the students' interests are the first thing that she thinks of.
I am happy to announce and to congratulate Miss Kathy Sayet for being Hurffville Elementary's 2020-2021 Teacher of the Year. She is definitely someone that we are very proud to have represent us this school year. I actually met Kathy prior to my start date. So I was being introduced to just staff members at the end of July from Mr. Pollock, and she was one of the teachers that reached out to me and just offered her support, introduced herself. She came in, was very, very warm, kind, just overall a genuine person. And just began to build that relationship. So that's how I was introduced to her initially. I actually thought that, I didn't know at first when she came in, I didn't know who I was speaking with. And I thought it was one of our student teachers, but it was not. So she came in and she introduced herself and was very, very warm. Kind. You could definitely tell that she was the type of teacher that just had a very welcoming environment when you come into the classroom. So you just automatically saw that and you felt that in her presence when I interacted with her the first time. So, as the school year, began to progress, it just kind of you just saw that same energy just carried over to what she does in the classroom. One of the people that did nominate her said that, sometimes, your child gets that once in a lifetime teacher. And she said that Mrs. Sayet was that for both of her children. They said that she was just the quintessential teacher, who was someone who was student driven, and you just automatically, see that when you meet her. And she's firm, she's fair, she's consistent. She is equitable. She's very organized, and most importantly, she's student-centered. So she's the perfect balance of that friend and the perfect balance of, being able to provide that discipline for her students. Another one of the nominees said that watching her in the classroom and how she interacts with students was mesmerizing. So in the morning, one of the things that she loves to do is she greets every student individually. And she pretty much allows them to choose their greeting, and just to continue to build that relationship with those kids. And she just really incorporates that in her daily routine. So you definitely see that she's very student-centered, and that's so important for our students. I made the announcement on a WebEx call. So I held a staff meeting last Friday. I want to say that was the 9th or December 9th or December 10th, and no one knew what the staff meeting was about. So I parked my car down the street from the house, and I had, a couple of people come with me. So everyone's wondering where I'm at, because typically when I hold staff meetings, I'm here in the office. So I just informed them. I said, we're doing something a little different this year. I wanted them to all be a part of this special occasion. So I'm at the house and I'm ringing the doorbell, and the person wouldn't answer the door. Like, no one answered the door at the time. So I'm on the WebEx call, and she's on the WebEx call. And she said she didn't hear necessarily the doorbell. So her husband, I think, was in the other room with her, and had her daughters on FaceTime. So I'm ringing the doorbell, and I'm telling the staff, I said, if you hear your doorbell ringing, I need you to come and answer the door. I need you to come and answer the door. So she finally answered the door. She was in tears. She was very surprised, and she was very appreciative. So some of her grade level team, they were able to push some of their remote lessons back a little bit so they could attend. So we, presented her, we crowned her. So we have a Hurffville crown that we passed down. So she got the crown, and we also provided her with a new one to wear. So she has the traditional crown that our Husky wears, and we presented her with the Husky. So the Husky wears the crown that we passed down for Teacher of the Year. And she got her Teacher of the Year sash that is also passed down. And we crowned her Teacher of the Year and gave her flowers and balloons and made a yard sign. And she took pictures, and we took pictures of the event. And one of the funny things that happened was at the end of the end of the meeting, we hear someone screaming down the street, and it was one of the teachers that lived in development, and she's running up to the house and yelling congratulations, and they were able to get pictures as well. So it was really nice. She's definitely a powerhouse. So she's a pint-sized powerhouse, to be honest, because she is petite. And she's just someone who just takes the initiative, takes the lead, and tries to support her community wherever she is. So whether it's here at school or if it's in the Washington Township community, she's doing whatever she can to support our community. And it does not go unnoticed. So I want her to know that.
I'd like to welcome the Thomas Jefferson School Teacher of the Year, Courtney Zazinski. Courtney is a special education teacher currently in a self-contained classroom. What's unique about Courtney's situation is that she's been with the same group of children since they were here in kindergarten. So she's traveled with them and watched them and helped them grow and learn from kindergarten, and they are currently in third grade. And this will be the last year, I believe, that she will be with these students. So it is so fitting that she finishes their time with them as being recognized as Teacher of the Year. Courtney's that teacher, goes above and beyond for every student, and especially the kids in her class. She's been known to come to their house in the summer to help with technology as we were setting up this year. She attends sporting events. She attends outside events to support her kids. There was one event that was shared that she drove through the night on a Saturday night from Tennessee to make it back in time to get to a church event for one of her young students to be there in church. And that's Courtney. She wouldn't miss something that her kids are doing. She's created a loving, productive environment where the children and their unique needs were the focus. Like I said, she would drive to the house. When we were remote, she would drive to the house after school or on Wednesdays. In some cases, she would social distance and teach either in the driveway or find a way to teach at the dining room socially distant. She would drive and exchange materials and sometimes stand in the rain, from what I'm being told, to make sure that the kids had what they needed. She participated in the annual Buddy Walk to support two of her students in her class and has been an advocate for them. One family shared that most children are lucky to have a great teacher for 1 year, and they have been blessed to have her for 4 years in a row. And then one quote from a family said that Miss S, as my child affectionately calls her, teacher, has been an amazing educator and champion of all her students. I can tell you with absolute certainty that what I've witnessed from Miss S puts her in a category at the upper echelon of teachers and, frankly, the upper tier of human beings as well. And that really sums up Courtney Zazinski, and I am thrilled to recognize her as Thomas Jefferson School Teacher of the Year. Congratulations, Courtney. I typically bring my whole staff together and the whole Thomas Jefferson community together for one of our drills where we assemble in the cafeteria, and I announce it for everyone to hear. So this year I did a WebEx meeting with a faculty meeting that I called Thursday night for Friday morning at 8:45. We did let her family know, her boyfriend know that we would be there, that, you know, she was being recognized. The plan was for Mary Hockham, the secretary, to be there, and she has assistants that work with her, and all three of them wanted to be there as well, to be at her house. So when I was at the meeting, she would be live. They would knock on the door, and she would, you know, be acknowledged at that point. So as I was starting the meeting, I noticed she wasn't part of the meeting. So for some reason or other, she forgot, and I hate to point that out in front of everyone, she forgot that there was a meeting and answered the door in her pajamas. Mary had the WebEx meeting on her camera, and, you know, she got to see all of us as tears were streaming down her face. And to top it off, she was wearing her Grinch pajamas. So it was perfect. It was perfect. One word is just outstanding. She's an outstanding educator, and so prepared, and so but what's unique about her is that she doubts herself and has such humility that she doesn't see the true expert that she is, and it's so nice that she's recognized here.
Wedgwood Elementary is thrilled to announce that Mrs. Kristen Seymour is our 2020-2021 Teacher of the Year. So from the day that she began at Wedgwood, Mrs. Kristen Seymour has cultivated a highly effective learning environment in her classroom. She utilizes instructional strategies that draw upon both best practices and emerging trends. And she's made some significant contributions to the culture of our school community. One of the hallmarks of what she does is she establishes really authentic rapport with her students, with her staff, her colleagues, and with families. Mrs. Seymour truly cares about each and every little person that enters her classroom. She recognizes the uniqueness of her learners, and she's regularly found celebrating their differences and their accomplishments. She has a positive and a bubbly personality, and it's such an important example for second graders, especially during trying times like these. Mrs. Seymour recognizes the importance of her position and the responsibility that she has to care for the learners in her room. Her students know exactly what's expected of them because Mrs. Seymour establishes really clear expectations for them. Their thoughts and their ideas are valued and welcomed in her room. And her classroom functions with an order and a purpose that she models every day over and over again. She's nothing short of a total asset to our staff and to our students and to our families here at Wedgwood. And we're thrilled to recognize her as our 2020-2021 Teacher of the Year. In a year when there were no shortage of challenges, Mrs. Seymour has been everything that her students needed and deserved. She has shown each and every child in her class that they have the ability to succeed even in the most challenging of circumstances, and that as long as they have one another, there's no problem that they can't solve together. I think one of the real hallmarks of Kristen Seymour's success here at Wedgwood is that she brings everyone along with her. So there are folks who are excellent at what they do, but they don't necessarily make the people around them better. And she's the exact opposite of that. There isn't a student or a colleague that works with her that doesn't benefit from all that she brings to the table. And so the impact that she has on our school community is really difficult to measure because it's so wide-reaching. Outside of her classroom, across grade levels, throughout neighborhoods, Kristen Seymour's influence is felt as a teacher here in our school. We mounted a surprise parade to her house, a very appropriately socially distanced parade to her house, where we had PTO representatives and each of the families that nominated her represented. All of the parents and their children met me around the corner from Mrs. Seymour's house early on that Friday morning, and we walked around the corner. We also had our two most recent Teachers of the Year here at Wedgwood, and so the whole group of us walked around the corner we surprised her with a lawn sign that said, "Congratulations, TOTY, Mrs. Seymour," that we had placed on her lawn overnight. She didn't see the sign prior to me coming up to her door and knocking on it. And we all kind of stood on her front lawn and surprised her that morning with the help of her husband, Mr. Seymour, and her children who were in on it as well. It was a really, really special moment. And I think that in a day and age where teachers are being asked to do more than they ever have been asked to do before, to be so excellent and to be recognized by your families and your peers as someone who represents the best of what we do. It was a real pleasure for us to celebrate her in such an exciting way. It was really, really wonderful. Kristen Seymour is human. And in her humanity, she sees other people's humanity. She relates to people on a very human level. And she wishes to impact them in a positive way, the way that she would want to be impacted. She's a gifted teacher because she understands that we all need one another. And that part of being a human is being connected and taking care of each other. And so it's in that humanity that her teaching really benefits her kids and her colleagues.
Whitman School is very proud and excited to honor Mrs. Carol McGoldrick as our 2020-2021 Teacher of the Year. I am honored and privileged to introduce Mrs. Carol McGoldrick as Whitman Elementary School's Teacher of the Year. Mrs. McGoldrick is in her 16th year of teaching at Whitman School, currently teaching grade 4 mathematics, science, and social studies. In the past, Mrs. McGoldrick has also taught all subjects in grade 3. She is a graduate of Rutgers University with a Bachelor of Arts in Psychology and holds a K-5 Teacher of Elementary Education certificate. Mrs. McGoldrick is married to her husband, Ed, and has 2 children, Kaylee, a recent graduate of Rutgers University, and Cameron, a 4th grader at Birch's Elementary School. Our Supervisor of Elementary Education at Whitman and Birch's, Christine Geringer, notes that Mrs. McGoldrick creates an educational environment in which students feel their ideas are appreciated and valued. Mrs. McGoldrick makes learning both enjoyable and challenging while promoting the development of critical and creative thinking, problem-solving, and decision-making skills. During this unique time in education, Mrs. McGoldrick integrates visual, auditory, and kinesthetic learning techniques to motivate her students. I describe Mrs. McGoldrick as cool, calm, and collected. She is very calculated in her approach to teaching, as she works diligently to bring out the best in her students. In one of her nomination letters, the author described that both of her children have had Mrs. McGoldrick. The person mentioned how Mrs. McGoldrick had to get her daughter in check with some girl drama issues that were going on in class, and that even though she got in trouble, her daughter still respected Mrs. McGoldrick and still called her cool. The same parent made mention of how Mrs. McGoldrick is during remote learning. She described that kids say some very random things, but Mrs. McGoldrick treats each student with dignity and respect while still doing a great job in teaching them. I called a meeting first thing in the morning on WebEx, and I had communicated with a couple of people that were friendly with Mrs. McGoldrick and asked them if they would go to her house and surprise her there while the WebEx meeting was going on. So several principals were doing that. We had a group chat about ways to do this because, I felt that I couldn't get to the house, having a Teacher of the Year and the Educational Services professional here at Whitman. So made that decision, and it was a lot of fun. And she was very, very surprised, pleasantly surprised, very overdue. Mrs. McGoldrick has been a very solid teacher for 16 years now at Whitman, and I was very happy to see the nomination letters come through this year. She's a very deserving person. She's a solid technician in the classroom. It means that she can teach, and it means that her strategies, she's able to really mold to the needs of her students, especially in this environment. I've really seen Mrs. McGoldrick rise to the top in this remote learning. She's very organized. and very deliberate. That's another word for her. She's very deliberate in her instruction. Like, she thinks things out of how effective things are going to be for the students, and when they're not, she revisits them and goes back and makes sure that she's tailoring to their individual needs. She does a really good job. The Washington Township Elementary Schools proudly salutes our Educational Services Professional of the Year, Christy Ortiz, librarian and media specialist extraordinaire at Whitman Elementary School. Ms. Ortiz is part of the heartbeat of our school. She always offers innovating, fun activities and lessons that enhance the lives of our elementary students. Her creativity, her love of teaching and of her students, and her dedication to the extracurricular activities of our students is genuine and noteworthy. I can always rely on Ms. Ortiz for a kind word, some encouragement, and even some suggestions, which may be tough to give to your principal, but she does so due to our collegial relationship and friendship, and out of her sincere love of our students. Ms. Ortiz started teaching special education at Orchard Valley Middle School in 1999, and holds a Bachelor of Science in Special Education and in Elementary Education from Monmouth University. Additionally, she has earned her master's degree from the University of Central Missouri. Ms. Ortiz and I first met as colleagues in the World Languages Department here in Washington Township. I always respected Christy for working with our special education students in adaptive Spanish at the middle level because she was so engaging and always related so well to the students. I was privileged enough to become her supervisor in the Department of World Languages and ESL before I moved to Whitman School in 2013. Ms. Ortiz joined Team Whitman in June 2016. She has been right beside me the entire time as we work together to build positive morale and spirit in our school. Ms. Ortiz is always ready and willing to organize an event for our students and for our staff, and prides herself on outstanding Read Across America events every year, in addition to all of the other positive contributions that she makes to our school. Ms. Ortiz is a leader among the elementary librarians and often serves in a leadership capacity by organizing the group and seeking answers needed for their curricula, and also just in organizing things that they need to order for the library and for our students. Ms. Ortiz takes great pride in getting to know her students and helping them find books tailored to their individual interests. She loves working as a librarian so that she can share her love of literacy with her students. In speaking to Ms. Ortiz about this honor, she mentioned how much she loves working on Team Whitman, as we have a team of educators who truly love what they do, and it shines through each and every day. She loves hearing the giggles of her students when she reads some of their favorite stories, and seeing their faces when they learn something new or they perform an act of kindness. Ms. Ortiz has created a No Place for Hate section in our library, where students can read books about diversity, cultural appreciation, and learn about different religions and their celebrations. She embraces equity and mindfulness and will stop at nothing to give our students the best every single day. It is my distinct pleasure on behalf of the elementary level to congratulate and to give a huge shout out to our Educational Services Professional of the Year, the one and only Christy Ortiz. I did a faculty meeting on WebEx and had contacted some of her friends, with whom she's close at school, and asked them to go to her house and knock on the door and surprise her. The funny thing was, as the WebEx meeting was going on, and I made the announcement, her face kind of went like you do a double take. It was kind of like one of those, and just very very overjoyed. If I were to describe her as a teacher, I would call her excelente. I would call her, she's fantástica. She's really awesome. Very proud of her.
Bunker Hill is proud to announce our 2021 Teacher of the Year, Mrs. Taryn Hamalash. My Teacher of the Year at Bunker Hill Middle School is Miss Taryn Hamalash. And Miss Hamalash is a special education teacher, and she's a special teacher to boot. She actually works in the specialized programs at Bunker Hill, specifically for students with multiple disabilities. And one of the things about her is that she received about 23 nominations, and that was from students, all of her students, her parents, her and her coworkers as well, to include the assistants and the certificated staff. And I just that just goes to show you just how amazing she is. So one of the things that all the parents and the students are saying was that she has an incredible amount of patience. She's incredibly compassionate. She's tireless, and she has incredible enthusiasm. And that is really the quintessential way to define Ms. Hamalash. But, one of the things I would add is, 5 years ago, these programs didn't exist in Bunker Hill, and it is from her efforts and her tenacity to make these programs incredibly relevant, incredibly poignant, is a testament to her. And it's because of her relentless efforts and the pursuit of excellence for the children, and exactly as an advocate for them, that these programs are doing awesome at Bunker Hill. And they become, I say this a lot, they become the crown jewel of Bunker Hill. So it's a big testament to Ms. Hamalash. It's a big kudos to the entire departments, and it's not surprising why she's Teacher of the Year. She's the real deal. Yeah, so she was obviously very shocked, very emotional. One of the things is Ms. Hamalash has been coming into the building because she finds, in her room, there's less distractions there. So she works from her room. She isolates herself in her room while the assistants work remotely with the students. And, she had that morning garnered a whole bunch of art supplies that she was going to drive around to the community to give to her children because they needed to do an art project. And it took an act of God to make her not go there so that, we could surprise her. So we had her come to the front pretending we needed to tell her something. We had a red carpet out there. We had all of her students social distance with signs, and people in their cars beeping their horns. And when she came out, we all just, had a little presentation for her. We had the speaker set up. We gave a speech for her. It was a pretty big deal. Positively relentless. Sorry, that was 2 words, but sometimes that has a negative connotation with people. But for her, she is an absolute champion and an advocate for her children. And she talks to me about never quitting on a child. And I have that mindset myself, but it makes me more focused on doing the right thing because I know she is doing that as well. And she doesn't let her children down. And that inspires me to make sure that I don't let the 600 students down at Bunker Hill either. And I just love that for her, that she's a constant reminder of what our vocation is.
Please join me in congratulating our Chestnut Ridge Middle School Teacher of the Year, Mrs. Natalie Kearney. We are so lucky to have you in our Razorback family. Mrs. Kearney is our Teacher of the Year for Chestnut Ridge, and she had many letters of recommendation. I wrote down some quotes from the letters. Mrs. Kearney is willing to go above and beyond for our school community and families. Mrs. Kearney is a difference maker, supporting students in need who are struggling with financial issues or a lack of clothing, food, or supplies. Mrs. Kearney is kind and positive. Her kindness and positive attitude is pervasive and helps brighten the school community. And lastly, Mrs. Kearney's professional skills, caring attitude, hard work, and positivity make this teacher a great advocate for all students and an amazing colleague to work for. She is engaging and intelligent, and her students absolutely love being in her classroom. She is the kind of teacher that students wake up and want to be in her classroom. She allows them to speak not only about the academic concepts that they're learning, but also about themselves. She really knows her students inside and out, what they love to do, their hobbies outside of school, any activities that they're involved in. And she also knows exactly how to work with them in order to get them to achieve more. I went on a live WebEx with our whole staff, and I invited everybody to come because it was the Teacher of the Year announcement, and everyone joined in the WebEx, and I was outside of her house, And when I was reading the letter, I read a lot of the comments that were on the Teacher of the Year recommendations that I just read to you. And as I was reading it, some of our staff members and her family were on her driveway with balloons and cards and gifts. And when I announced our Teacher of the Year is Natalie Kearney, they started ringing her doorbell, and she opened the door and she was so excited and so surprised. She was all smiles and she had tears in her eyes. And her brother had tipped off Mrs. Kearney's daughter, Gianna, and told G that she could video from inside. So not only did we get her video of her being excited and opening the front door, but we also got a video of her reaction at the computer watching the WebEx. Compassionate. She is just compassionate about everything that she does, whether it be inside the classroom or out working with students and families in the community. Natalie is the person who gives so much of herself, her time, and her resources, and she's always in the background. She doesn't want anybody to know. She doesn't want the spotlight on her, but as soon as she recognizes that there's a need, whether it be academic in her classroom or a need in the community, she goes above and beyond and helps out in any way that she can.
Mrs. Kathleen Gillespie is Orchard Valley Middle School's Teacher of the Year. She is magnificent in so many ways. She's a special education teacher who teaches Read 180, the American Reading Company, and works in our ICS ELA classes, primarily in 8th grade. And she's probably one of the most passionate individuals I know about helping kids grow into being amazing adults. She's dynamic and personable, but she has a quiet, very strong resolve about her that is amazing to watch, because she has such an ability to make relationships and build relationships with her colleagues and her kids that you can see that she cares about them and they care about her. A lot of her colleagues mentioned that she teaches and leads from her heart. And that is so true when it comes to Mrs. Gillespie, because, for instance, at the end of the year in one of her classes that's relatively small, she always does a pizza party lunch for them. And in the quarantine last year, since we weren't able to see any of the kids, she had a pizza and a 1-liter bottle of soda delivered to all their houses at the same time so that they could have their end of the year pizza party with her on Teams. And it's those small things that she just does over and over and over again to really make connections with kids. And because her connection's so authentic and real, those relationships extend beyond middle school. You know, she still has a lot of communication with kids that graduated from Orchard Valley and are at the high school and beyond. And that's a testament to who she is as a teacher and a person. A lot of her other colleagues noted that she was an inspiration to fellow teachers and that she was one of the most positive, flexible, and fun people that they know. And one of our kids said that she was relentlessly motivating, that she will not let any of her kids fail. And that, I believe, sums up exactly what Kathleen Gillespie is as a teacher and how she is as a friend and a colleague and a parent. We did a car parade to celebrate her. So I held a voluntary WebEx meeting on Friday afternoon at 2:00 for the whole staff. And I just noted that it was going to be the Teacher of the Year announcement. And myself and several other teachers that are very close to her, we set up a car parade, and Andrea led the WebEx while I was on the WebEx with my phone, but I was able to basically at the end, it was listen for your doorbell. because it was like an announcement that like whoever's door I was ringing the bell at, obviously. And so I rang the doorbell and we were all standing socially distanced outside and we were like, congratulations! And we had flowers and balloons and some signs, and her kids were all home, which was fabulous because her children all attend Washington Township schools. And I think she was more than grateful and so surprised at the same time, because she's just so humble in all of the things that she does. And I think she truly appreciated our efforts to kind of come up with like a sneaky surprise for her that was safe and socially distanced and all those good things. But it was wonderful that we were able to at least, you know, go and see her. We took some pictures and posted it on social media, and we were honking horns. It was fun. It was really fun, actually. Caring. She truly is one of the most caring people I know.
Washington Township High School is proud to announce our Teacher of the Year, Mrs. Carol Costello. Carol Costello is really the backbone of our high school for so many years. Her leadership with creating so many important initiatives through her work as a junior senior class council advisor. I mean, she's credited with creating our Spirit Day parade. She's been instrumental in Senior Service Day. I mean, anything that goes on that's a labor of love, Carol has her hands all over. I mean, the amount of time and energy she puts in to provide support for the hoagie sale. I mean, I really could go on and on. Carol is just so instrumental in helping beyond the classroom, right? But as a teacher in the classroom, she's exemplary as well. She's been a special education teacher here for over 30 years. She teaches primarily in ICS settings in English. And, you know, especially during this pandemic, she brings every kid under her wing and just refuses to settle for, you know, not giving the kids, every kid, what they deserve. And she's beloved by her colleagues. She's beloved by her students. She received multiple nominations. And, you know, our school just, you know, Carol is planning to retire soon. And our school will never be the same without her. Her legacy is second to none. Unfortunately, we weren't able to celebrate our recipients the way we normally would, which would be, you know, a surprise announcement over the loudspeaker, given our selected Teachers of the Year and this year Educational Service Professional of the Year the opportunity to, you know, be around their colleagues, their students when the announcement is made. And obviously we didn't have that option this year. So our selection committee decided that we would do it via WebEx. And we identified a select group, some Teachers of the Year that are part of the selection committee, some close colleagues and friends of the recipients that would kind of go do the drive-by parade at the time the announcement happened. Thanks to Student Council, we were able to get a lawn sign that we could take to each of our recipients. So I announced it via WebEx. And at that same time, there was, you know, kind of the cavalcade of friends and colleagues that were stationed and positioned outside of the house to give them the round of applause and, you know, just some, you know, love and real live reaction to the moment. So we were able to do that for each of our 3 recipients. Well, Carol was in tears. You know, we had about 10 or 15 people that made it to her house. You know, I had a chance to get over there after I made the announcement, and Carol was in tears. Carol doesn't do all the work that she does for the spotlight. She always deflects it and wants the spotlight to be on the kids and to be on her colleagues. But she was moved. She was definitely touched. She was emotional. She was crying. She said she never expected it. And, you know, she was really, really, you know, touched and humbled. And that's just who Carol is. I would say all in, like, I know that's not a word, but all in for Township. I mean, she embodies Township pride. She's a lifer. She's been here forever. And, you know, she's all in. There's nothing she won't do for our school and our community. Washington Township High School is proud to announce our Teacher of the Year, Mr. Josh Hanlon. I joked, but there's a lot of truth to this. Josh was a first ballot Hall of Famer because this was his first year of eligibility. It wasn't the first year he's gotten nominations, but his first year as a tenured staff member that made him eligible to be a recipient. And, you know, the volume of recommendations that were received for Josh was incredibly impressive. And, you know, when you think of having to, on a Friday in March, as teachers, be prepared, not knowing how long it's going to last, to move to this remote instruction, it's daunting. But when you have someone like Josh Hanlon that has already laid some of the groundwork just by nature of the work that he does to help provide professional development, nonstop, ongoing professional development, real and relevant and meaningful professional development, our staff was way better positioned than most places would be. But then when you look at what Josh did throughout the summer, I think it's safe to say, and there are a few that would disagree, that no one worked harder than Josh. Still today, but you know, every day starting from March. I mean, I know, especially at the very beginning, I mean, this guy was, you know, almost 24 hours a day, and the level of patience that he exhibits, you know, because everything comes so natural to him in the tech world because that's what he does. He's got the muscle memory and he's constantly learning and constantly trying to support. But no question is too small for Josh, right? And that's what really shined through in a lot of the recommendations and the feedback you get from his colleagues. Is like, even if it's a question that seems like, you know, people should already know, Josh never gets frustrated. And he'll just continue to work and do whatever he can to remove barriers to help teachers meet the needs of our kids. And while he's doing that, he's also teaching online financial literacy. You know, he's an innovator as a coach through a pandemic where, you know, while the season was stripped from our lacrosse team, he still, you know, met and mentored with his players. And, you know, he's done such amazing work with the demands of Schoology and providing answers for parents and training videos for parents and students and staff. And, you know, it's a very, very rare combination to find someone as skilled and bright as Josh is with the work that he does with technology and instructional technology. And then also someone who has the patience and willingness to, you know, deliver it in a way that can be received by, you know, a wide spectrum of users and people that he supports in our staff and our students. Josh was at home. We were able to give his wife the heads up that it was happening. And Josh was announced last. And so by the time we got to Josh, I think he had an idea, because the parades had kind of started to happen for the others. And I think where he was positioned, I think he may have seen some people outside of his house. But what was interesting is, you know, when our selection committee talked about this plan to announce via WebEx and have a small group go out to each house, you know, some joke like, well, what happens if we have tech issues? We got to call the guy to help us. That's going to be the guy that we're honoring. And ironically, you know, all three had some tech issues with the WebEx meeting, Josh even being one of them. But, you know, he was also very honored and humbled. And, you know, the thing about Josh that the selection committee talked about was, you know, he doesn't need this award to drive him. You know, he's not looking for the spotlight either. And, you know, that drive and determination to just, you know, make things better all the way around is what makes him so special. Relentless in the pursuit of excellence for our staff and our students. And that's there's no better word to describe Josh Hanlon. I think a lot of that too comes from his drive as an athlete. You know, he's a very accomplished athlete. He was a superstar lacrosse player at the collegiate level, and you know, I think that drives him in his regular day-to-day work. An amazing dad to three young kids. And, you know, a great husband to a wife with a professional career, and yet he still is able to manage all of this massive work that is, you know, that is in front of him. So relentless for sure. Washington Township High School is proud to announce, on behalf of the district, our secondary level educational services professional of the year, our school nurse, Mrs. Teresa Cotton. And this is an award that Terry, deserves pre-pandemic, right? She's been such a leader among the district nurses and a leader at the high school, especially even before COVID-19 and the pandemic hit. Terry is just so knowledgeable, and there's nobody. I would put my life in the hands of Terry before anyone else, doctor, surgeon, otherwise. I trust so implicitly, and I think so many people do, her wisdom and her constantly reading literature and staying on top of best practices as a nurse and as a school nurse. So Terry has earned this many times over the years, but especially this year. I mean, I've been blown away. Terry is working Saturdays, Sundays, nights until midnight. She's at administrative meetings, helping to train and educate district administrators. She's on the phone with parents, helping to make sure that they have the most accurate information and can make the best decisions when COVID-19 strikes a family. She's in constant communication with me in the tracking and the monitoring that needs to go on, so that we make sure that we, quarantine students and don't have them come back to school if they're not, the timing isn't right for them to yet come back, depending on their circumstances. She's in constant contact with the County Board of Health all the time, asking questions, helping to provide them with data and information. She's been an amazing mentor to Kathleen Lukowitz, our 11-12 wing nurse, who is doing amazing work as well. Terry is she's just the epitome of a mentor and the epitome of just wisdom beyond what you could ever expect someone to have. I mean, in the rare event that Terry doesn't have an answer, or she's not certain, she takes the time. Somehow, I don't know how she finds the time, but she finds and takes the time to make sure that she gets the most accurate information, and then is really so good at sharing that back out with the people that need to know. I don't know what we honestly, we would have had to close a lot sooner. We would not have been able to remain open safely in the hybrid model at all. We would have had so many more days of remote learning without Terry's leadership. She's part of our pandemic response team. She's guided us to the decisions we've needed to make to keep the schools safer, with regard to identifying isolation rooms and, thinking about walking paths and just so many different facets. We have not had a single case of suspected transmission within the building. And when you think about a building as large as ours, and the cohort design working, a lot of that really is a tribute to Terry's work and Terry's thinking. She's such a strategic thinker and really thinks from such a broad lens, and that's because she's so knowledgeable. But she also exhibits the patience and the willingness to take the time to talk to parents and our staff. She's been so helpful with our staff and answering the questions that they have and putting a lot of people's minds at ease when they might be worried about a family member. And she is just incredibly accessible, sometimes to a fault, because she's put her family very often on the back burner to better support our Washington Township High School and our Washington Township District family and community members. Well, Terry lives a little bit of a ways away. She's in Marmora, but we had a team that went to her house as well. And I know Terry was equally surprised and honored and touched, and we announced her first. And so Terry was in tears. We were able to make contact with her husband, who was home, and we got some video of it. And Terry also, she doesn't do it for the accolades. So she was definitely honored and and humbled. And of course, you know, Terry's first reaction when you say congratulations and all, she takes this as an honor that really is shared. She wants to share that with Kathleen Lukowicz. She wants to share that with the staff and with the community, because, you know, Terry says all the time, this is everybody's first pandemic. And obviously she's right, but in that patience and that, you know, willingness to reflect, she sees it as a team effort in the work that we do to keep everybody safe. So she certainly appreciated it, and she was honored, but in typical Terry fashion, you know, she didn't want to accept the award as if she earned it, but she absolutely earned it. A couple come to mind. I mean, the first is just knowledgeable, you know, just wise. And but I think I would have to go back to what I said a moment ago, and that is reflective. Terry reflects in everything that we do, and you know, when you know we could have done something better, she makes that recommendation, and she's a critical thinker. And I would go with reflective. She's always trying to get better and always trying to help us get better.